ID. So you 5 at the door. All right. All right, you're good. You go inside.
Episode 4, what is up, everybody? I have Will from Full Blown Meltdown here. I feel crazy that this is even a thing, but what is up?
Yeah, what's going on, dude?
Yeah,
I'm very happy
crazy...
that this time I'm seeing you fully dressed.
I know. All right, so about 3 hours ago, cut to 3 hours ago, I'm making ramen in my house, and I work at home, so I rarely wear pants. And I just hear from my computer in my office, like a guy driving and kind of talking into my camera or something. And I was like, something's going on. This is weird. I ignore it. I'm like finishing cooking some eggs. And the curiosity gets the best of me. And I see that Will has joined the Zoom meeting a few hours early, and I have my camera on, and I just walk in the camera. I'm like, is somebody there? And it's fucking Will going, hey, what's up, Kristy? And I'm like, oh my God.
Dude, it was a great way to meet somebody, though, honestly. Like, talk about instantly bonded for life. Sorry,
yeah,
Kristy.
I have it's this beautiful kind of shared thing. I wish I could have like been like the mastermind and planned this whole thing, but no, it's the silliness that just like bonds it together forever. So I'm very, very grateful that you weren't running away from the whole experience. I'm very grateful and very lucky. So this is super dope. So let's just get into it. You've had a crazy fucking week, my guy.
Oh yeah, it's been sick.
Congratulations on Molify. The whole record is like kind of crazy. I want to kind of just dive into like I've listened to it about a few times, but my first thing that I realized that you created an Uruboros. So like you created like it ends and starts in the same way, and it like feeds into itself. And
yes.
I don't know the last time I listened to a record that did that.
I know, it's so funny, dude. I used to love bands that would do that kind of stuff back in like the early 2000s, and then people just stopped doing it because people stopped writing albums.
Yes, 1,000,000%. That was my first thought. I was like, wait a minute, I think this feels like, you know, In Love and Death by The Used. This feels like a bunch of this weird shit that like, it feels like that you're like reaching in like the pockets of the past and like pulling it into the future, and you did it.
100%. And I miss albums so bad, Kristy. I miss like the feeling of like having to start at track 1 and then having to go, you know, the tracks in the direction that the band wanted you to listen to them in.
Yeah, it's I haven't felt like that call to like the album as hard as I have from listening to this record. It feels very strange. It's also, it's not just like that it loops back on itself. You also have, I'm pretty sure, stuff connecting from every song. So it is seamless. There's no like jump from song to song.
Yeah, and there's lots of callbacks in each song, too. That's the funny thing. Or, for example, the songs that I couldn't do callbacks in, what I did was I connected them by adding a weird thing from every single track. So I added an 8-track recorder in one of the songs, a VHS recorder, an old TV.
You're doing this thing, like start from why did you want to do this? Why did you want to make that thing? Is it because you loved those records that did those kinds of things?
Yeah, I love, so my favorite thing in the world is when a band has like lore behind them. Like I love lore, and I love like especially when a band connects like an album 10 years later to an album that was 10 years prior with something. I'm always like, yo, so I know this sounds really weird, but I'm thinking like chess terms kind of stuff. Like I'm trying to think like 3 or 4 moves ahead that way. Cause you know, I'm already thinking about like the second and the third album, how I'm going to link them back, that kind of stuff. Because I love when bands do that kind of stuff and nobody freaking does it. So I was like, why not just kind of go all in on this. This is my last chance. I'm old as shit. So like I might as well have fun doing this now.
Yeah, I was thinking about like the last time that I felt like that there was like really crazy lore, because I felt that there was like a larger story. I as a DM on D&D, like I find that lore and like leaving it up to your PCs, your audience, is like what makes like that good, like thick lore stuff.
Yes.
And like the last time I felt like this was like listening to like the Receiving End of Sirens.
Dude, one of my favorite bands of all time. Casey is a genius.
Casey is a fucking genius. And that first record that they did, it feels like that I kept having to listen to it, be like, wait, are they calling back to this? Why are they talking about this again? What character is this? Like, I don't know if a lot of people like this band, but there's another band that did this called Medina Lake.
Yep.
And
also, did you listen to Casey's later stuff, The Deer Hunter?
Deer Hunter is like, I feel like Deer Hunter is like obvious, where they're like, he's like, yes, I am telling the story. It's up to you to figure it out.
Yes.
Where like everything else is like, Medina like kind of totally said like, hey, this is a story, figure it out. But like Receiving in the Sirens, they've said there's no story, but yeah, there is.
Yeah, exactly.
We all agree there is.
And it's the same way. I don't know if did you ever listen to Cursive?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so Cursive, the Ugly Organ, if you actually go through there's a ton of lore on that album, and I love it. It's so good. And you know what's so funny? So we just moved here to Omaha 2 months ago, and guess who I live next to? Tim Casher, the singer from Cursive.
What the fuck? Your life is so strange.
It is so weird, dude. I love it, though. We live on Saddle Creek Road, so we live like literally right next to Saddle Creek Records.
Oh, what the fuck? Okay, so that's kind of like you have been living kind of this odyssey.
Yeah.
For like the last so and so years. How long have you been kind of traveling?
We've been doing this we've been traveling now for 3 years, and I started writing the album 3 years ago. So it was the type of thing where it just all happened at once, and I no longer had to work full time. And I was just like, man, I was like, I would love to get back into music, because I don't know if you know, but I used to play in like a lot of kind of big hardcore bands back in the day. And I used to tour like 6 months out of the year, every single year. And I hated it. I hated it so much. I loved playing music, but I despised sleeping on floors every night.
So I was like trying to look up your stuff. I know that you did, I was like, scoured your Instagram. You've deleted a bunch of stuff. So the only thing I know is you did something called Lonely Fox.
Yes, that was, it's so funny. Legitimately, that was when I first picked up a guitar. I had never touched a guitar before. And it was so fun, because I was like, I'm going to put stuff out and just like see how, like, if I like it, or see like, if people are interested in it all. And people were kind of interested in it. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, well, this is obviously, this was just me attempting to see what kind of music I wanted to play. And I actually found my sound because of that little project. I only recorded, I think, 5 songs total under the Lonely Fox name. And yeah, but the thing is, I had so much fun doing it. And I was like, okay, maybe I could actually like do something with this and actually like, make a project. The only reason I called that Lonely Fox was because, I always called my wife that. So I was like,
that's so cute. Yes.
Yeah. So it literally, like, it's the type of thing where I just called it that. And then I was like, hey, I'm going to change the name. I'm going to try to make this like a legit project. And she was just like, do it. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, what are you going to call it? And I said, you know how obsessed I am with Pup? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, my favorite song of theirs is Full Blown Meltdown. And I think that's a really cool name. And she was like, I love that. Let's do it. And I just kind of ran with it from there.
Okay, cool. So tell me about like when because as a huge like Pup guy, like Dream Is Over kind of changed the way I look at like, I love Pup because it's not just big crash cymbals all the time.
Exactly.
They totally changed the way I look at writing, vocal structure, guitar structure. Like Steve is like such a ridiculous guitarist. So your inspiration from Pup, even in its name, what like drew you to them, and what are you taking from them?
Oh, what's so weird is what drew me to them. So I had never heard them before Morbid Stuff. And my producer / best friend calls me and goes, hey, Lex, which is his wife, Lex just found this band called Pup that we really think you would be into. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know, I love that kind of music in general. So I turn it on and like my wife and I are driving around. We're freaking like going to like Target and crap. And I'm listening to this album and we're both like, whoa, like this is like next level. So we start going and seeing them. LOL. We start going and seeing them all the time. And we actually met like Stefan, we met Steve, we met all of them, and they were all so nice. And they had my same values and like everything that they believed in. I was just like, man, like these guys get it. Like they just understand like what music is supposed to be. I love their lyrics. I love how goofy they are. I love how like they're very pro-trans and all that kind of stuff, and which is something that not a lot of bands were doing at the time. And I was just like, man, this is so cool. Like these guys actually like stand up for things, even though they're like music can be goofy as fuck. And I was like, okay, well, I really love that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna run with this, and I'm gonna see like, you know, if I can talk to Stefan and ask him if I can name the band after, you know, the song. So I hit him up, and he was just like, fuck yeah, dude, like, please go ahead. He was like, I think that'd be so cool. And I was just like, all right, word. So he was one of my biggest supporters directly off the bat. I sent him my first stuff, and he was just like, you know, raving, like, dude, this sounds like this. Like, I fucking love this. I've been missing this sound and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, what a nice ass guy. Like, just what a nice dude. Because I'm just a random ass dude going to your shows and asking you to do this kind of stuff. And he was just so friendly and you know, now he's learning how to skateboard, and literally we like shoot the shit about skateboarding and stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is just a guy who is so far above me musically, but is so down to earth that it's so cool. And that's why I wanted to name the band after them so bad.
I think that is like, it's so important to like know that kind of history, as much as like, you know, band names are like, sometimes it's like, who gives a shit? Just fucking play the sick ass songs. Like, who cares? Yeah. But like, we all know that there was like this relationship between them and that band. And so exposing that and like, you know, giving like the lore behind that, I think is so important. And
I think so too.
Yeah. It's so funny. Now, is Full Blown Meltdown still your favorite song, even after going back and like listening to the earlier records?
Oh, you know what's so funny is the reason I love Full Blown Meltdown so much is it sounds nothing like anything else they've done.
You're absolutely right. It's their one kind of like big heavy song.
Like it is.
I think Familiar Patterns like gets close at the end, but like it doesn't hit like Full Blown Meltdown does. And also I feel like Full Blown Meltdown, like you kind of knew what you wanted to sing about anyways, which was literally you having a full blown meltdown.
Exactly. And it's so funny because my music is so much nicer and more upbeat than theirs when it comes to like how I play music. But I love that lyrical structure of just like, well, things are fucked up.
I think it was so honest. Like I was listening today, and it's like the theme you've shoelaced the entire thing of like life fucking sucks right now, and you have paired it through such a as a person who, like, I'm 35. I grew up with like, you know, I was in high school when Louder Now dropped. I was in high school when, like, you know, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge came out. So, like, that was, like, the emo that I came from. And so it was, like, you know, soft, weird shit, loud crash cymbals. So that was, like, what emo was to me. And I've gotten to watch emo change in such a weird way. And I was listening to you, and I was like, oh, this is, you know, there's DIY emo. And I think that DIY emo has now, with your record, changed into almost like a DIY pop thing. Like, you have pop tendencies, and it leans into it in such cool ways. And I was like, you're bridging a gap that I didn't think could exist. It's crazy.
That makes me feel so good. That makes me feel so good. It's so funny you say that too, because no joke, I grew up in high school with those records too. And like I still remember the first time I heard like 3 Cheers. So the first time I heard Louder Now, and being like, wow, like this is like the next level of music. And it's so funny because I still listen to those records.
Yeah. And it's I just think that you're such a huge proponent of like the DIY community. And I didn't really dive into this community until like the last couple of years when I started doing like band stuff. Me searching around trying to find this stuff. So what got you kind of hooked onto this community in the first place?
Well, that's what's so funny. So this is a weird question because I kind of love it. So it was probably like right when I first started coming back to playing music, and like I had nothing on Instagram. I had nothing on Twitter. I had nothing on, I really didn't. TikTok was starting up, and I was like, oh no, dude. And I was like, all these bands I used to tour with, all of them are married. They've all quit playing music. Like, I don't have any friends like in the music scene anymore. So I was like, man, I would love to like go out there and like make some new friends and like, just meet some new bands and that kind of stuff. Cause I used to love that kind of stuff. Like my favorite thing was playing a show and then shooting the shit at Denny's. Like, I love that kind of stuff. That's such a good time. So it was so funny because I was like, a lot of these bands don't know each other yet, like on Twitter. Like there was not a lot of community, like outside of like your record label. Like if you were on your record label, you were friends with your record label. And I was like, I got to think of a way that like I could kind of like bridge the gap and kind of bring people together. And I would love to be like part of that. So I was like, this is a cool way to do it. So every single day, I just started looking through small record labels, and I started looking at like all these up and coming bands. I didn't care if you had like 10 followers. If you had songs out, I was like, screw it, I'm going to listen to it. And I started making it a mission. And my wife still to this day, it drives her insane because every single day I find a new album still, even after like the 365 days of DIY thing, I still find a new album. I listen to the whole album. And I don't care what it is. I have to listen to at least one album a day or one EP a day and find a new band. And it's so fun because, and then I just go at them on Twitter. That's why my Twitter, like I literally used to follow 5 people. Now I follow like 1,000 because I'm just still trying to find new music.
So that's so funny because I remember when I joined and started looking for all this Twitter stuff, that was the first thing that I kind of started seeing was like, I started seeing it at like 302 days of DIY. And I was like, what? This guy's done what? Holy fuck. And then I was like, okay, so this guy you've literally done like one of the best DIY roots campaigns I've seen in a long time. It's incredible. Do you think that's, do you see yourself doing something with that even later? Like the homies helping homies thing, it's like forever. To. It's like it's so perfect that like
it is. It really is. And it's so funny because it's Adventure Time links in. Yeah. Oh God.
Like you and Quinn like doing something together.
I know. It's so funny because I met Quinn off of that, and one day he actually added me out of nowhere. And his bio said, the CEO of Oso Oso. Yes. And I messaged him and I said, why does it not just say CEO So Oso? And he goes, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. And I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, that'd be so funny. So then he instantly changed it. And then the next thing I know, I start seeing Quinn all over my stuff. And I'm just like, man, this kid's kind of funny as shit. And like, he's actually like, just a cool kid, like just seems like a cool kid. And it was so funny because I don't know if you saw that video I posted the other day where I had like everybody saying like, go listen to Molify now. Like, a lot of my friends that are in bands. And I was like, Quinn, do you want to be in this? And he was just like, I would love that.
Yes.
Yeah. And he was like, I would love that. And it was so funny because then as soon as I posted it, he was the only one that wasn't like, I'm from Glass Beach, I'm from Palette Knife. And then he goes, I'm Quinn from Twitter. And literally he was like, I'm so out of place, dude.
No, when I watched that, I think that was like, that's what the community moment is about. Like when he says, I'm Quinn from Twitter, everyone knows who that is. Everyone knows who that is. And like had this moment of like, oh, that's right. You are a nexus point for literally this entire community. That's so fucking crazy.
Just the most random points on the internet, man. All right.
So, I wanted that you post this thing about One Piece. How far are you in?
Oh man. So I am only 3 episodes in right now.
I literally, so I go to the gym every morning, at 5 in, and with my wife, whose name is Lex, which is really, really, really weird. I'm on 205 and I've been like, it's like my workout thing. am so excited for you to like dive into this thing because I'm an anime guy, but I like 60 episode series, Full Metal Alchemist, like Cowboy Bebop, that whole thing. You are in for such a fucking treat. And I would love to like do a follow-up thing with you after you like hit like episode 100.
I would absolutely love that. I'm telling you. So right now, when I say I'm a huge anime guy, oh, Chris, you have no idea. So all I've done my entire life is watch anime. And it's so funny because I'm really good friends with, do you know who, you might know who, I'm sure you do. Do you know who Glass Beach is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I became really good friends with them because both Lane and Will are very into anime too. And it was so funny because we would just shoot the shit over anime all fucking day. And I was like, yo, I love this band so much because they were so chill. And I didn't know who Glass Beach was. And it was so funny because Lane just randomly added me one day and just started talking about anime. And I was just like, yo, who the hell is this? and literally, like, we just shot this shit for a couple of weeks straight. And then I'm just like, oh, hey, I checked out your band. I didn't know you were fucking massive. And, and they're just like, yeah, you know,
oh my
play
God.
music. It was so weird. It was so weird.
You were in so I couldn't find the hardcore bands you were in. What were the hardcore bands that you were in? So
the last one I was in that was really kind of successful was on Tragic Hero. I recorded drums for this band called Northern Ghost, and it was pretty successful. And then before that, I was on Standby Records with a band called Royal. And then I was also in a band on In Vogue Records called Set to Reflect. Okay. And then, yeah, and, you know, I've been around. I've been around for way too long.
And were you drumming on all those records?
Drumming or playing bass.
Okay, cool. Sick. And so you have a musical background. Like, was it drums first?
Oh, I've played drums now for 22 years.
Oh my gosh. And so, like me, I kind of had to go piano into guitar, and then I did drums a little bit. What was the first thing you started on?
Oh, drums. That was the first thing. It was weird because I literally had $100 kit.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yep. Was it like first act, like something like that?
So it was the step up from a child's kit called a Max CB, and my dad got it for me from this kid that lived down the street. And I'll never forget the first time I hit that cymbal and it went, and I was like, oh God. Like, even as a kid, I was just like, wow, that sounds bad.
Oh, that's so funny. And then you picked up guitar and then did you go guitar to bass or did you go bass to guitar?
So here's the wild thing. So I picked up bass 2 years after I started drums. So I've been a bassist for 20 years now. However, during the pandemic, actually directly before the pandemic, I got a guitar given to me and I was like, I've never played guitar. I wonder if this would be cool. So I started like looking up apps, looking up YouTube videos, and I started playing along with that app Musician. And it's so funny because I had never played guitar really before this record. And I was like, hey, I like, you know, my bass playing translated though, which was really nice.
Yeah. Now you did all this record it's kind of all over the place in terms of like instruments. Now, were you the person playing the instruments on the whole record?
I play everything on the record except the bass guitar. Oddly enough, my producer is the greatest bassist I have ever met in my life. And that is coming from someone who has played bass for 20 years. He's unbelievable. And then sometimes leads, him and I switch off on leads because he is great at guitar too. So Tony is actually the singer for my old band, Northern Ghost and Set to Reflect. And he is a prodigy. And it's so funny because he is so much better at singing than I could ever be. And I had never sang before this record. And he was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to sing. And I was like, please do. Like, I could use all
Somebody
that.
Somebody help me out.
So, yes, that's exactly how it was. And I was like, Tony, I don't know how to sing. I don't know what my voice is. I don't understand any of this. And he was like, okay, well, just come in here and we'll start practicing how to sing together. And he taught me How to Sing, which was the coolest thing ever the first year we were together. And then the whole record while we were recording, obviously I knew what I was doing by then, but I was still learning stuff along the way. And it was so nice because if I was like really reaching for a harmony or something, I'd be like, Tony, you know what to do. And literally he'd sitting in his chair, hit record, sing it, and recording, and it would be perfect every time. And I was like, fuck you, man.
Now, because this is coming from a place of like, you and your producer did this whole thing, do you plan on taking this live?
So I have a ton of friends that are great musicians live, but the problem is with me moving all over the place every few months, it makes it so hard. So I tell everybody the same thing. If I got a good enough tour, so this is kind of wild. Since I put out the album and since the album touched a lot of ears last year, because there were a lot of record labels interested in it, we got a offer from a very big booking agent to be like the booking agent for Full Blown Meltdown. And it was, do you know who the APA agency is?
Yeah, I've heard of that, yes.
By any chance or no?
I have heard of the APA agency. I'm not I'm usually been playing in bands and not knowing those kinds of, I'm starting to like learn a lot more about those kind of things, including even record labels.
Yeah.
I've never been on one of those before. I'm mainly more of a listener, podcaster, that kind of thing.
Oh, I feel you do. Well, it was really nice because I got picked up by a manager, the manager who manages Dance Gavin Dance, Hail the Sun, like a bunch of bands like that. And he used to manage Acceptance, who I loved back in the day. And I was like, man, I would love to work with this guy. So he picked me up. The next thing I know, he's got me talking to a bunch of publishers. And then the APA agency was hitting me up. And the APA agency actually hit me up because of, do you know who Heart Attack Man is?
Yeah. He just moved to Nashville, which is where I'm at.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That's where I record everything. That's where my best friend Tony is.
Oh, dude, next time you come down, we'll have to fucking hang out.
Hell yeah, I would love that. So it's so funny because Eric actually was the whole reason that Jason hit me up from the APA agency and was like, hey, I would like to be your booking agent. And I was like, hey, I don't have a fucking band, dude. I am the band. And it was a very like nice offer and everything. But I basically said, I will play a tour in the future, or I will play multiple tours in the future if it is with bands that I am absolutely obsessed with. But if it's not a big enough tour, I don't see it happening, just because it's the kind of thing where I'm old now. I love my life. I love writing music, but I don't love sleeping on people's floors anymore.
No, I completely agree. I think it's like, hey, if I'm going to do this, like, you've already done the thing. Like, I've talked to a lot of people who are like, either have never done it and like dream of doing it and don't know like the problems with it. Like I talked to this guy last time about, he went from being just in bands to being a stage manager. So like he went from like the bus to like the big bus very, very quickly. And, he doesn't do that anymore, but, it's just very interesting to hear everyone's perspectives from that, like, from being DIY into possibly, going into the next level. So that's cool that you've experienced that and still like look and want to be grounded in this community anyways.
Oh, 100%. And what's so funny is I had gotten to the point where we had a tour bus and everything in my old band, and it was so fun. It was so fun. But at the same time, by the end of every tour, the bus smelled so bad. We all hated each other. And I was like, yo, this is just, I don't like think this is for me. Like I really love to write music and everything, but it's so funny because, so we did, one of the biggest tours I ever did was in 2008, and we got to go out with some crazy bands. I don't know if you remember Oceana. I don't know if you remember Of Machines, Burden of a Day, Under Oath, The Devil Wears Prada. We went out with all of those bands that year, and it was crazy. The biggest show I ever played, we played in front of 22,000 kids, and it was it was the craziest night of my life. And I remember standing on stage and thinking to myself, man, I got to appreciate every minute of this because this might never happen again. And I was right. And it never happened again. And it was the kind of thing where I am still to this day, I think back to that day and I'm like, damn, I'm so happy I was like in the moment, and like my memory it's like a core memory, and it always will be.
That's amazing, because it's like, I think that's why I like doing this podcast, is because I want to bring the concept of, I think that a lot of people think that they can't do what we're doing. Like, they can't do what you're doing. And I think that it's way closer than what people think. Like, just start
really
writing.
Is.
Just do it.
Yep. Literally, you know what the best thing is? You can record an entire album on your MacBook in an apartment now. That's basically what Tony and I did. We basically did it in a bedroom. It was insane.
Yeah, that is that's the best shit. It will always be the best shit. Like, you know, the stories alongside of like, hey, I don't think anyone should be going to like big recording studios. I don't think that I have a problem saying that. I don't think that like my alliances are with the big studios that you have to record there. I think record with however you fucking want to, and like just do like what you have to do to get the thing out of your head out into your hands and out of your mouth, and just do the thing. Like, record labels, I think I have a weird relationship with, because I've never been on one. I think that it gives you access to things rather than like there's nothing shiny about a record label anymore.
Exactly. It's so funny because this album, so we had 6 offers from 6 different labels, and it felt so good to turn them down and say, I'm going to do this on my own. I felt so good because all 3 record labels I've had before, Tragic Hero, In Vogue, Standby, all 3 of them offered me insane stuff, and in the end did everything they possibly could to screw me over.
Yeah, I feel like that, like there's so many movies about the relationship between a record label and a basically an end user. It's not. I think that's why we like this community so much, is because you can do this, and it's not impossible to just do it yourself.
Yep, exactly. And it's so nice. The best thing that I really love, so when I was on labels, I actually had limits to how much music I was allowed to put out. I had limits to how often I was allowed to put stuff out. I have no limits here. I literally could turn around next year and say, here's another album. Have fun.
And I think that's the best part, because you can actually, there's no guardrails. It's free. It's more special to stay local in a way.
It is. What's so sad is all these young kids just see the label and they think automatically, oh, that band's better because they have a label. And it's like, no, you don't understand. Like that's not how it works nowadays. That band has a label, maybe because they couldn't afford to do the recordings on their own and they needed a loan from the label. And that happens a lot. I've seen a lot of bands that I really love sign up with labels that I really despise because I know what they're going to do to those bands in the future, and I know that those bands will not survive. And it's just, it's so frustrating to see a band that I really love get signed into a contract that I know 7 to 8 years from now will be the end of them. And that's just a bummer.
I get it. Okay, so I've got 2 more questions. One, what are you listening to right now?
Oh, yo, have you heard the new Jeff Rosenstock album?
Oh, Hell Mode is so good. It's like, I think it will probably be in my top 5. I do a top 10 every year. It will probably be in my top 5. It's so much fun. It made me listen to Worry again, which I wasn't a big fan of, and now I love it. Because like We Cool is such a huge staple for me. We Cool is like perfect. I think it's like a flawless record. But Hell Mode brought me back into Jeff.
Yes, I'm telling you, I love everything, Jeff. That's my problem. I'm kind of obsessed with him. But also, if we're talking like local DIY stuff, have you heard Huachuca Aerostat yet or no?
No, and you're going to have to spell that for probably everybody.
Oh, I know. But I'm telling you, just go on my Twitter and listen to the band I just posted today, Huachuca Aerostat. I'm telling you, this kid is on his way. Like, I don't know. He told me the other day, he messaged me and was just like, it felt so good to like see you post about me because like I feel like I'm old and I feel like, you know, I don't really belong in the scene anymore. kid's like 29 years old or something.
Oh my God.
So young.
I'm
old. I know. And I'm like, dude, the fact that you feel like you're old, like that, like makes me so sad, because I'm just like, dang, dude, like, you don't understand. You have another, decade ahead of you still before anybody even looks at you in that way. Like, you have plenty of time. Like, I'm an old ass. Like, I know for a fact that he is, he's literally almost a decade younger than me. And I'm just like, dang, dude, hearing you message me that, like, whew, I'm glad you don't know my age.
Yeah, man. Like, I like letting people know my age because, like, I'm not, with me and my band 95 Corolla, like, this is just a fun thing. I've never gotten to finally just do this, and I live in Nashville, so I'm just like, fuck it, let's do it. The podcast, I think, is a little bit more important in certain ways, just because I think it's a little bit more about, like, no one talks about this kind of stuff. And I think it's really more important about that kind of thing. But yeah, everyone should just do it, because I think everyone is just so fucking talented and everyone is so funny. And that has been the weirdest revelation about this entire thing, is that everyone is so funny. What the fuck is, I don't get it.
Dude, that's why I love DIY, though. It's literally full of, like, the artsy kids that, a lot of us got beat up in school and had kind of shitty lives. And it kind of, like, turned our humor into a coping mechanism.
I wanted to get, I'm going to play a song of yours. What song should I play at the end of this?
Oh, yo, definitely. I would go with probably I'll Kick It, because that's me and my best friend on it.
All right, done. Here's Kick It. Thank you so much, man. From the bottom of my heart, like, this has been such a great conversation.
Yeah, dude, this was so fun.
You are the best. Listen, everyone, listen to this record. It's weird. You won't know when it ends because it just starts over perfectly. And that's how it should be. So if this cuts out, just thank you so much.